Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. I think it's quite a serious topic today. We're going to talk about this attack yesterday on MyEtherWallet, talk about how this is possible, how to protect yourself as a user, and this was actually quite relevant here in the company too, because we had a lot of transactions yesterday and today for salaries and for payments, and so yeah, this was actually quite critical, and it's really important to kind of catch these things, so I want to talk about this. When you come in, drop me a message where you're coming in from. Do me a favor, really give a thumbs up for the video. This is very important so other people see this. If you want to do me an extra favor, share this video so that other people can see this and get value out of this, and so that YouTube ranks this stuff so people see this. And I hope that you do agree that the content I deliver here is of really high quality, and so I don't want other people or other channels that don't deliver quality be upvoted. I hope that kind of makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that's pretty good. And we're gonna go from there and see what's happening and what's going on. Fantastic. For those, really important, first of all, I have 3 reference links down below. One is from Cloudflare, one is a YouTube video that's quite interesting. I mean, all these things are quite technical, but you might actually like this, so I put them in. And I'm offline. How did I get offline?
Wir haben dich noch nicht gehört oder gesehen.
Wirklich?
Na, gar nichts.
Weird. How did this happen?
Kannst du reloaden einfach?
I think Periscope is live. Everything else is live. How's it now?
Not yet. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm live now?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks, Patricia, for telling me I'm offline. Well, let's try the whole thing again. I think Periscope, Twitch, Facebook, all the others, they get everything double now. So yeah, hope that's okay. So let's start again. Thanks for coming in. Let's talk about a very serious topic today. And the serious topic I want to talk is MyEtherWallet. How this attack happened yesterday on April 24th? Whose fault is it? And how can we as users protect us from this? And it's actually a very interesting and relevant kind of question, especially also here in the company, because yesterday I finished with the Q&A, and after the Q&A, we noticed all these attacks and hacks going on. And actually a lot of transactions were happening in the office simply because of salary payments and a lot of transactions and a lot of payments going on. So this was actually really relevant so that none of our team members also got kind of caught into this attack. So I think this is very important. And obviously, I straight away went onto Facebook and social media and shared this, and just wanted to be sure that people are really, really careful with this. And yeah, when you come in, do me a quick favor. Give me a thumbs up on the video so that YouTube starts ranking this video straight away higher and other people get to see this video. If you want to do me an extra favor, then please share this on Twitter, on Facebook, so that people see this and people get this. And I hope that you agree that we deliver, or I deliver a lot of value here. And I think it's always we, it's never I. I think there's an entire team that delivers and helps and moderates here. I mean, Patricia is live here, Jan is live right now. Ruben, who edits all these videos, and I mean, we have an entire different team for the CryptoFit kind of thing as for 10x to make sure we really deliver and everyone is aligned on this. So I hope this is really important. So yeah, well, first of all, thanks so much for coming in and then giving me a thumbs up. You can let me know where you're coming in from. Always very interesting to see all these different countries, quite exciting, and that's important. Before I go into the video, I have 3 links, 3 sources in the video. The first one is from Cloudflare, which is just a blog post where they explain this from a technical explanation. Then I have a YouTube video in there, and I have a video from, not a video, a link to the DNS sources. And there you actually see that MyEtherWallet is not as unguilty or not as guilty as they claim they are. There is some mistakes that they also did. It's a small mistake, but there is something. So, and just a quick side note, I always do these videos in 2 languages. So we do English now, we're going to do German right afterwards. So let's go straight into it. Let's start with what actually happened yesterday, April 24th. What happened from the outside, right? And actually how I noticed it was one user on Facebook posting that his website to MyEtherWallet is not working. And what's happening. And this is how I saw it starting, because then I went on MyEtherWallet, and what was really weird, when I went to MyEtherWallet, I could go to MyEtherWallet, but it told me that my certificate was not correct. And so I was like, how is my certificate not correct? And I just clicked ignore, which is one of the worst mistakes you could ever do, but I just thought, what the heck is going on here? And I pressed ignore. I came onto the MyEtherWallet website. So for those of you that are new, MyEtherWallet is this interface. It's a pure interface to connect your private key to the Ethereum blockchain and to the ERC20 tokens. So I got onto this website, and initially I didn't see anything different, so I thought the website is working normally. I didn't need it yesterday. So I went onto Facebook and I commented and I said, no, website is working as normal, should be fine. And some other users also commented that it should be working fine. But then I started to ask myself and said, this was really weird. Why did my certificate, this security, like if you look in the left upper corner, there's always this little green lock, right? This security certificate. Why SSL? Why is this thing not properly working? So I looked at it, I said, this is really, really strange. And then I went back to Facebook and I wanted to see what's happening. And by coincidence, it's a pure coincidence, I go onto Reddit on the Ethereum subreddit because I just wanted to see if there was some feedback and some of the community going on. And I went there and I saw very, very top, and it had maybe 5 upvotes at that time. So it was like really, really early. I saw that the DNS, the description there was not 100% correct, but I mean, it turned out afterwards. But they said that the DNS records, the domain name servers records have been hacked, and so the website of MyEtherWallet was not working. And what basically then happened was, whenever people actually went onto the MyEtherWallet website, they saw a regular website, but then when they logged in, they were actually in a completely different website. So a hacker from Russia, and we're going to talk about how this actually works and how you can protect yourself against this. A hacker in Russia had copied that site, and we're going to look into how this works, and retransferred the traffic so that when you thought you were on the MyEtherWallet website, you actually went onto their website. The address looked completely correct. It was all fine. It was just the certificate was wrong, but most people don't notice this. And when they go there, then they fill in their private key, which is a huge mistake, and we're going to talk about this as well. And the next moment, within a couple of seconds, all their Ether were gone out of their wallets. And the crazy thing about this was that this just went on for like an hour, 1.5 hours, so the attack was quite fast over. But the attacker managed to steal $150,000 or approximately 215 Ether, right? So quite an insane amount. And so obviously this raised a lot of questions. It raised a lot of questions on the one hand from users who said, what the heck? Am I affected? Did my funds get stolen? And then we had people asking, how in the first place did this even happen? How was this possible? And so I want to clarify these things. So let's go this step by step. First of all, if you haven't logged in to MyEtherWallet yesterday, right? So if you haven't logged in, you're just kind of sitting around and you haven't logged in, then it's very unlikely that your funds are at risk because of that attack, right? So it's just really, really unlikely. Should be all safe. Also, if you go to MyEtherWallet now, just make sure that the green little thing in the left upper corner is up, then it should be no problem. It should be all fine, right? So very, very unlikely that you have a problem there. The second thing, if yesterday you went onto MyEtherWallet and you use a hard wallet, then what might have happened is, if you went onto the Russian kind of site, is that this transaction that you have sent might have gotten diverted somewhere else, but very unlikely that all your funds are going to be lost. And there were no reports of them redirecting transactions. So all they did was they copied the private keys. Now, since in hard wallet, the private key never leaves the hard wallet, this is not possible that the attacker kind of took advantage of you there. And the third example is, obviously, if you accessed MyEtherWallet yesterday and you filled in your private key because you copy-paste that, then first of all, stop doing this. I'm not kidding. Stop copy and pasting a private key onto MyEtherWallet or mycrypto.com. Don't do this. Really, don't. If you have done this yesterday during those 1.5 hours, chances are that you might have lost your funds, all your funds on MyEtherWallet. So again, if you haven't been on there or you're using a hard wallet, very unlikely that something happened. Only if you copy pasting your private keys on there yesterday during those questions, 1.5 hours, you might have lost your funds. And in total, it's only 215,000 Ether. I mean, that's quite a lot of money, $150,000. Holy mocker, that's a lot of money. But comparing that to some other attacks is a little drop into a huge bucket. Yeah, so, and it's just as a quick reminder, right? MyEtherWallet, even if that site would shut down, it wouldn't matter because MyEtherWallet is just an interface to where you enter your private key or your ledger gives the private key and then you have access and you basically communicate with the blockchain. So that's just really, really important. So don't worry if MyEtherWallet would not be accessible. It's not like an exchange, right? So what does this mean for you as a user? Now let's go into the how. We don't really know yet how the actual attack was performed, and I'm not really sure if we ever find out, but we know what happened, right? So let's start first what actually happened. So in order to explain what actually happened, we need to explain two things. We need to explain DNS and we need to explain BGP. DNS is not necessarily, on Reddit they said that DNS was the reason why this attack was performed. It was partly. It was not the actual reason. It was not that MyEtherWallet was hacked, and it was not really that their DNS server was attacked. The DNS resolves that a domain, so basically what you type in, myetherwallet.com, actually connects to the IP address. So every content is actually stored in an IP address. And you can then see this internet as similar like a phone book. People always explain it like a phone book. I'm not sure if this is a good example. I would rather call you similar, let's say like nicknames, right? And you give something a nickname, and once you give it a nickname, you give it a nickname, but there's actual other information behind. There's an actual address behind it, right? So let's call, I don't know, you give me the nickname Jule, J-U-L-E, right? And that's basically a nickname you give for me. It's actually a nickname many people call me, Jule. So that's a nickname. And that's basically the address that you type in on the top. And the IP address is the actual information behind. So basically, in this case, it would be my date of birth, it would be my phone number, my email address, it would be all the actual info. But you, let's say in your phone, you just have my nickname in there. Now, here's the thing. There's so many addresses out there, right? There's so many nicknames out there, and there's so many IP addresses out there. And so what happens is there needs to be a service that actually dynamically moves all this information around and connects all this information. So, and how this is done is through the so-called Border Gateway Protocol, and that's called the BGP. And that BGP is the entire infrastructure on the back end that routes the information that when you type this in, and it looks through these tables and it says, okay, hey, I'm looking for this kind of address, and this is just a nickname, how do I get there? And then they have these routing tables on how to get there. So it's like this huge, humongous internet. You need to understand that it's very dynamic. It doesn't want to be stiff, because otherwise, if one thing goes down, an entire channel goes down, right? And so this is quite a fluid kind of thing. And so what these attackers managed to do is to change this BGP. And they, in technical terms, you call that it was hijacked. And basically what they managed to do was that the route from when you enter the address, so myetherwallet.com, to the actual domain server, this in between, the information was different, so it didn't end up at the DNS, it ended up somewhere else. And the specific one that was attacked there, and that's why all these names were thrown out there, is the so-called Route 53, which is many domain servers are stored on Amazon Web Service. And so on this route to go there, the attackers from Russia, and they located that somewhere in Chicago, they managed to kind of infiltrate somehow this service, not physically, but change the BGP there. And Google, who had the address 888, were the first ones or the only ones who actually picked this up. And then whenever someone connected through Google, so that's also why when you went into the Google search and you looked for it, you came to the wrong address. Or when most people who use Google for the routing as a database resource, they all went to the wrong kind of end result, not to the actual domain server from MyEtherWallet, but to someone else, which was in Russia. And the only way how this is possible is if this agent who managed to do this, this infiltrator, actually either it was a total coincidence, and we don't know, either this person managed to do this in a very targeted, clear attack. It's interesting because we then saw where these Ether were moving to, and these Ether were moving to an address where there was close to 20 million US dollars stored on there, and the user actually started selling this crypto on exchanges, probably through hacked accounts, so that then these people who don't even know that their accounts are being used to wash this money get in trouble, and then probably it's going to go into some private crypto coin, maybe Monero or something, and then it's going to be used or sold or somewhere else, right? So this is how generally these users with large funds kind of wash their money. It's in a very, very kind of complicated way through hacked accounts and so on. But so interesting is that this person this group had $20 million on this account where eventually these $150,000 ended up. So either it was a total coincidence, either this was a very professional targeted attack on this specific kind of route to get from one point to another point, or it was actually a large attack because at the end, and you can see this if you actually read this blog post down from Cloudflare, where they analyze this entire traffic, right? So they don't analyze this specifically for cryptocurrencies, they analyze this for the entire traffic. And on this route 53, there's actually a lot of services that would have been infiltrated. It probably, as it looks right now, it just wasn't used, right? It wasn't exploited. And this is actually a very interesting or difficult concept, because the question obviously is, whose fault in this entire process is it? Because fingers have been pointed all over the place. Fingers have been pointed to MyEtherWallet. And MyEtherWallet's fault was not really there because the routing was somewhere in between. Now, there is a mistake that MyEtherWallet is doing, and I copied a link down. Their DNS is not properly set up in a way that it would have been way more unlikely if they had set up their DNS proper. And the link is down below. You can just click, and it's called the debugger.verisignlabs.com. And you can check every domain if the DNS is set up properly. So it might be actually that the attackers looked at this, saw that it was not properly set up, they understand this stuff quite well, and they kind of exploited a weakness there. So MyEtherWallet is not directly their fault. It might be a little bit their fault. But then, obviously, there's a lot of other questions, right? People have pointed fingers at Google and said Google got attacked because their kind of server 8888 was the first one to kind of propagate that, or the main one to propagate that. And it's actually not their fault either, because what Google just does is they just get information and they kind of make these databases, and then they go out, and if the attackers either offer a better route, or they offer a shorter route, or they can offer or they can just show that their route is better, right? In a sense that this is more legit. And there again, the certificate is not properly set up. Then you can't really blame Google, right? But yes, you can blame them a little bit, right? Then the question was, did maybe the GoDaddy domain from MyEtherWallet get hacked? But they declined that. Where did this problem come from if the entire Route 53 from Amazon had this problem, right? Obviously, the person you can always point the finger to is the actual user, him or herself, who goes on a website, doesn't check the certificate. But I have to say, even myself, who went onto the website, I was like, yeah, what's happening here? And I just clicked ignore or close, right? Something you should never do. But to me, I just wanted to get through somewhere. And I think this is really important. And it was actually, you saw that on the internet, on Reddit, and on social media, people actually didn't understand what was going on. And that shows two things right now, right? It shows how complex such a problem is. And it shows actually how fragile the internet in general is, because this is a legit attack that can happen to anything. It just was exploited on cryptocurrencies, right? But then it also shows how not user-friendly crypto is. And this is actually quite interesting to see. You could also ask, who should have done something, right? the funny thing is, even though MyEtherWallet was the first one to react, they could do nothing. Because even if they would shut down their site, what would happen is, it would be their server basically shutting down, but nothing was going to their server. You need to be aware of this. The traffic was all going to this new fake server to Russia. So many people told MyEtherWallet, shut down your site, shut down your site. And MyEtherWallet initially didn't know what to respond, but now looking backwards, they couldn't have shut down the site. The only thing they could have done was deactivate the domain, but this is not possible like this overnight. So what actually happened was, I think Google got contacted and they just re-updated their server, and then the BGP was updated and the entire address book was kind of clean again and the traffic was routed the proper way, right? So very interesting how to fix this. Now, this is kind of the entire kind of overview of this very interesting thing, because we see what happened, but we don't really know how this happened. And this is on something that's very complex and existing as the internet, right? So I think, it gives me a little bit to think also, because I have to also admit, right? Yesterday when I sat there, I didn't think of a so-called DNS poisoning, which is what this is called, where someone fakes, some man in the middle fakes a new kind of DNS. And I didn't think of this straight away. I thought MyEtherWallet had some problem, but it was actually, they didn't have the main problem. They did some small mistake, but whether this led to it or not, there was a lot of finger pointing. Eventually, right, and this is why I want to do this video, eventually we as users have to be sure that we are securing ourselves, right? We should take charge and ownership of ourselves and be as secure and safe as possible. And so I want to give you a bit of the guidelines, and we're actually going to do a separate video just for some very special part, and I'm going to tell you about that. The first one is, obviously, learn really about SSL and make sure that on the left upper corner, wherever on your browser this is, you have this little security lock that makes sure that you are on the actual site, right? And this is just kind of a cross-check and a cross-reference that checks and says, yes, you are actually on the right site. So that the domain and the actual server is actually communicating through a private key, public key pair to make sure that this is secure, right? So this is, you can do this with any site. And if you have a certificate error, ask yourself why you have a certificate error, right? Many times when you go to an airport or to a hotel or somewhere and you need to log into the Wi-Fi, you get a certificate error there, right? You get this because you're being redirected somewhere and the system knows this and gives you a certificate error. So if you get something like this on a normal Wi-Fi, on your home Wi-Fi, and you don't understand why, get really, really, really cautious, right? Get really cautious. And if you don't have to do a transaction straight away or there's a reason to do it right now, then wait a bit, right? You can always wait. Or one thing I can also always recommend is just send a small, very small unit. If you have to send a Bitcoin, send 0.01 Bitcoin first and forget about the fees, right? Don't worry about the fees. See what happens, right? Be really, really cautious and especially in crypto where things cannot be undone, err on the side of caution. Don't be too risky there, right? But what could you have done, especially with MyEtherWallet, and actually you should be doing, right? And please start doing this. The first thing is, use a proper hard wallet. I just posted a video on my channel here. Maybe Ruben, you could link this down below, or someone could post the link into the chat. I talk about the hard wallets, how these hard wallets work, and why they are so secure. And it's so important that you start using a hard wallet. Yesterday, even if you had gone onto the site and you would have used a hard wallet, no problem, right? You would have had no problem. Very, very important, or very unlikely you had a problem. The second thing is, when you use a hard wallet, always check the address on the hardware device with the address you actually want to send to. Don't trust your screen, trust where you want to send it to and what the address says on the device, right? This is really, really important. And then, and this is the third thing, and that's actually the best solution, and if you use the solution, it doesn't even matter if you use a hard wallet, then you can use anything. Use an offline version of MyEtherWallet. And this is something that I'm actually doing all the time, but I wasn't aware that so few people actually do it. And so I'm going to make a separate video. I'm not sure if I can manage it tonight, but maybe I'll do it over the weekend. I managed to do a screen share on how I use MyEtherWallet offline, how you can do this. It's super, super simple. You just have to do it. You just have to set it up once. It takes a couple of minutes. And then you are really set to go with MyEtherWallet, and then nothing should happen there. So I hope this gives you some kind of insight. Very interesting how this DNS poisoning happened for my MyEtherWallet. Actually could have happened to anything else. No one really knows how they did it. We just know right now what actually was the outcome, and yeah, how to protect yourself, right? So get a hard wallet. Always check the physical address to avoid any diverting, and if possible, always use an offline wallet to sign. With a hard wallet, the offline kind of thing is just extra caution. It's just good practice, but it's not really that you have to do it. Yeah, great. I hope this gives you some insight. Hope this gives you some value. If it does, if you have questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always interesting to hear. Always good to get some input and feedback if you have further questions or where to go next. I think this is interesting. Yeah, and do me a favor, share this, give me a thumbs up. If you want to have more about crypto, check out my book. And other than that, see you at the next video. With this, thanks so much. Have a really good Wednesday. And yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye, Julian.